I'm looking to short dollar CAD after price took out previous week's high. We've put in this channel, and my target is that price will reach that previous month's high, which is this high from previous month, and we are starting to find some bearish, putting this bearish engulfing candle, and I expect price to come into at least these equal lows on which is clearer on the 15-minute time frame, and also happens to be at the fair value gap on the 240, and I expect price to find some kind of a support around there. I like the way price printed these candles, these two tweezer tops, followed by this bullish engulfing candle that took out the lows and highs of that week, those two candles, and price again took out the highs of that engulfing candle, and I do expect price to find some kind of a rundown today, because it's Monday as well. We might see some manipulation before going up, and we're at the moment closing below this fair value gap, turning that into an inverse fair value gap. So trade at that 50% level, and I do expect price to find good resistance right there. I don't know if price will come all the way down to this 50%, right? That's not my prediction. I just know that what my prediction is, that we'll find some resistance there. If you're like me, waiting for the retracement of this leg into the 618, then you would not have been entered. You'd not been entered even if you waited for the 50% to be tapped. If you waited for price to hit that discount, it came into, on the 1 hour time frame, this inverse fair value gap's 50%, and found resistance, or found resistance, and is continuing lower at the moment. Most of my accounts, I didn't enter trade at this inverse fair value gap on the 60-minute. We came in, we held that 50% off that fair value gap, inverse fair value gap, put in this candle where price took out highs and lows of previous candles, and I moved my target entry to the highs of the previous candle. This candle was high, and yet I didn't get an entry. However, on my FTMO phase 1 account, which is almost past, I was a little bit aggressive, and as I saw this candle right here come into the 50% of this inverse fair value gap and tap into that inverse fair value gap, I entered aggressively, mainly because it doesn't seem like, to me, it doesn't seem like price is going to continue higher up, and I only need a small percentage in that account to pass the phase 1, so I entered that trade. And this is just a note for future, right? So this is a very strong statement candle on the 60-minute, this bearish engulfing candle after this inside bar candle, especially when there's a clear drawn liquidity for price to come into and find support before going up. And this is essentially a classic manipulation, London manipulation trade. Just didn't get my entry that I wanted. I wanted the 618 pullback, but it's highly unlikely to get a 618 pullback when price is moving so fast. We came into that 50% off that inverse fair value gap, and that should have been more than enough. Not only that, there's another entry before that I saw that could have been potentially a good entry, which was this order block right here on the 5-minute time frame after price came down and closed below that fair value gap, making it an inverse fair value gap. Came into this high, took out the high of this order block and tapped into that fair value gap, and that was a good entry. I was watching it, just didn't enter because I wanted price to come at least into the discount. And then as price started to move lower and came back into this 50%, I took my trade just on one account, not on the other ones. And this is how the trade played out. I exited, well, somewhere around here, because by that point I passed phase 1 of my challenge. However, I'm just still annoyed that I didn't get triggered or didn't enter on the trade on my other accounts at this inverse fair value gaps 50%. Right, I was a bit greedy. Not greedy, I was a bit too cautious. I was way too cautious. I wanted to enter at the 618 pullback around that previous week's high level. It just didn't pull back to that level, and with the FTMO account, I entered after I saw the retest of this inverse fair value gaps 50%. So this 50% level, we came into it, tapped it once, and then tapped it one more time, clear on the 5-minute time frame, and I entered the trade there, and price just ran off after that. somewhere around here, right? Could have gotten 2 to 1 from that 50% with stops above these highs, or even 1.81. It's just what it is. Just a lesson for next time, you know, such an aggressive candle, most likely not going to retrace back into that 5%. Just what it is. Overall, I do think that was a great trade, great analysis, and just could have executed the entry better on the other accounts like I did on my FTMO account. So yeah, let's see how it plays out. Now I'm waiting for price. I don't want to trade right now. It's 12 o'clock. Actually saying that this is a good time, 12 to 1. I'll see how price reacts. If it comes down into this level, this is a good location for price to come into to find some support. Could potentially go long, and maybe you'll see another 2 bearish candles before we push up. Yeah, I'm not too keen entering right now. Even if I do enter, it will have to be a really short-term trade. We've got another channel forming right here with RSI diverging. Ideally, I want to see one more push down and then potentially enter a trade. So let's see how that plays out.